years of loyal service, fighting the wars of Persia to secure the frontiers threatened by savage tribes, was to be proclaimed a heretic by the Vizier Rashid, and put to the stake to have his body burned to ashes. That Shapur had believed Rashid still pissed him off. But then the favor of kings is a fickle thing at best, and if they wanted to burn someone at the stake, it didn't require much reason to do so. The other name was that of Imhept, the Egyptian, who had taken him from the burning stake before his body was completely consumed. Imhept had nursed him back to health in the cave by the sea, then provided him with the money he needed to get free of the lands of Persia. If he were found alive in Shapur's domains, it would mean a return trip to the stakes. Imhept had only been able to free him by claiming a debt owed him by the king that had been made in public. He had forced Shapur to live up to his word when he had promised to grant Imhept anything within his power. Imhept had chosen Casca. The fly returned to buzz around his nose, and though the little pest didn't touch his skin, the buzzing of the wings, millimeters from the hairs of his nostrils, made him feel like sneezing. He brushed the mindless creature away with the back of his right hand. He didn't think that Shapur would have let the Egyptian claim him if he hadn't believed him to be already dead. He wished the little man of the Nile well. He turned from his reflections to face the dim walls of Calanesium. It would be dark before he reached them. That meant he would spend one more night sleeping in the open. He longed for a warm bath and oils to ease the aches of his body and soothe the innumerable sore spots where the leather of his sandals or even the rough threads in the inner seams of his tunic irritated sensitive skin. He walked down the path leading to the gates, taking his time. He nearly laughed at the thought of taking his time. For what did time mean to a man who was damned? Time only meant that he would go on to face more disappointments, more pain, and always more killing, years and tens of years into the unforeseeable future, where he would never be given the peace of death. He sat by the gates along with about a dozen others who were waiting for dawn when the gates would open. He kept apart, staying to himself with knees pulled up to his chest and his robe wrapped tightly about him to keep out the chill of the night. He didn't sleep that night. There were too many thoughts pulling at him to give him any rest. Casca looked to the west, where a dim line of gray was beginning to show. The rest of those waiting went about their morning ablutions, finding quiet spots to ease their bladders and bowels. Those that had women with them had built small fires fed by camel and horse chips and were warming food. His stomach gurgled, reminding him that he hadn't eaten since the previous day. From his pack, a small bundle of dates and olives served as breakfast. He could hear the changing of the guard on the town walls, familiar orders that he had obeyed more than once. It gave him a feeling of comfort to hear the language of Rome, his native land, again after so many years away. From the Great Wall of China to the frontiers of Persia. How many leagues had he ridden and marched, fighting one battle after another, and for what? He fell in line behind a Syrian farmer, pulling a reluctant donkey loaded down with grain sacks larger than the animal was. The sun appeared over the ridge he had crossed the previous day, sending single red beams of light sliding across the plains to strike the brick walls of Calanesium at the same time the gates were unbarred and swung open. When he entered the walls, the guards gave him a cursory once-over. One of them pulled his hood back to get a closer look at the face in the shadows. He wished he hadn't. The exposed face had red welts covering the right side, and the skull was devoid of hair except for a few stubborn patches.